want the beer?
Yours?
We're all live in 3 minutes, everybody.
Is there a way to put that? How do you want to
Just put
display
it on
that?
that thing there, and we'll put it right out front. We'll take that too. Yeah.
Put it here?
That's going to be our camera, so.
Just let me know when you want me to.
All right.
Can you sit down or wait?
Can you see that?
Check the camera. No, it's too high. You gotta drop it down or back here. It's still too high. You gotta turn it down a little. They're perfect. Perfect.
All right, I need glasses.
All right, 1 minute.
Want me to sit or?
Yeah. You're number 3.
Do we have room so we don't have to be on top of each other?
Your mics are live, they say. That's all right. We're not going to say anything crazy. Not on the beach. 1 minute, everybody. 1 minute. 1 minute. It's so humid out.
Yeah, how sensitive are your mics? Don't hold them up.
Very close. Start the intro shortly. Yeah.
I won't say anything bad if the mics are live.
Podcast. Say whatever you want. Well, within reason, I guess. Some on the mic.
Is that what to do? Way warm today. So much for October 20th. We need a nice cool breeze to just swoop in here.
We had 2 days last week.
Yeah.
It was maybe dropping to 60
Yeah.
for about 2 hours in the morning.
The dogs were all excited, like, woohoo! I went out running today and I was like, ooh, this is going to hurt. This is going to hurt.
And now, with a special broadcast to help raise money for Captains for Clean Water, here are the hosts of Beach Talk Radio, Kim and Ed Ryan.
And good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Gateway. We are in Gateway for a Captains for Clean Water fundraiser at the Fort Myers Brewery. My name is Ed Ryan. This is Kim Ryan, and Doug Banks is sitting next to us. And the reason that Doug is here is because Doug's a bigwig here in Gateway. Doug is the chairman of the Gateway Services District, and we go back 100 years, friendship. We've known each other since you used to live on our block. And that was, how many years ago, Doug? Did you live on our street
It's
there?
been 2004 is I think when we moved into Gateway. So that's when our kids were little.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's age
Your mic's
ourselves.
not on.
Yeah, I have
Turn your mic
4.
on. Yeah, and so
I have 4.
the
I
kids,
lost track.
the kids, we know your kids from flag football
Right.
when we started the flag football league, and which one of your kids was like the super speedy guy?
That was Cooper.
Cooper, yeah. How old is Cooper now?
Cooper's a junior at Bishop Rowe.
Yeah.
No way.
He's running and playing soccer, still pretty active in
Crazy.
sports.
And now you're, for 5 years, you said you're it would be like if we were on Fort Myers Beach, you would be the kind of like the mayor, de facto mayor. You're the titular head of Gateway, right?
I don't know if I'd go that far,
nice.
but we in Gateway, we're a community development district, so we're not quite a township. But the CDD manages really the operations of Gateway. So it's infrastructure, water, sewage, irrigation, and then any of the kind of governance in Gateway. And I think what's unique about Gateway itself is you think about Gateway, but really Gateway is made up of like 27 individual communities,
right,
in HOAs. So there's communities within the community. So that has to be managed by a group, and that's what the CDD does. It's managed by a board of supervisors, there's 5 of us, and we're voted in for 4-year terms.
Right. And you decided to get into politics. Why?
Well, it kind of goes back to the Pinecrest days, and we were all in the community, and just trying to get people to volunteer their time on the HOA is a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I don't consider myself a politician by any means. I think I'm more of a kind of an operations type guy, and someone that really feels strongly about supporting the community and kind of doing whatever you can, in order to provide that support or volunteer your time. And so it started out with the HOAs, and then it grew to the district because one of the seats was vacant. That's when one of the supervisors resigned, so there was an opening. And I was approached if I would be interested, because I was pretty active in the community, just like Ed, you and Kim were very active in the community, and have been for a long time. So I said, well, it's something I'll consider. I'd like to bring my kind of business experience to the board, and that's what I think I've done for the past 5 years. So I was reelected in the last election. So I had 2 years that I served as being voted in. You had to be voted in by the existing board because of the vacancy. And then I was reelected. So I'm 3 years into my 4-year term.
That would not be something for you. You were involved in the community, but you don't want him on.
I was
too
on
volatile.
I was on the parks. There was a parks. Is there still a parks committee?
There was. We haven't had the parks committee in a couple of years, and oddly enough, there's been some resurrection of conversations around should we develop the Commons Park. And for those that don't know, we do have an area here in Gateway that has a pool on it, but there's about 15 acres that is open and was originally designed by WCI as a Commons Park. And so there's a long history that goes with that park and why we haven't built anything there. But it's actually, there's been some conversations recently. But again, I think with the pandemic and everything else, people are very cost conscious and want to maintain their assessment. So anytime you build something of that magnitude, it does cost some money. So I don't know if we're going to shelf that for a little while longer or whether we'll pick up some steam.
And the pool, you were mentioning the pool. The pool recently got a redo over, right?
They're working on it. So the thing about Gateway that I think most people, don't really think about is it's 30 years old.
Right, right.
And so that's why a lot of our focus within the district is really around infrastructure, water, sewage, irrigation lines, the stuff that most people don't even think about. But those are the things that when we're hitting a shelf like now where a lot of that stuff needs to be not only repaired, but replaced. And so with the pool's been around that long too.
Mm-hmm.
So there's quite a bit of repairs that need to take place with the pool. We have done some things, but there's probably some larger, we're talking like kind of remodeling type stuff that needs to take place.
Well,
now recently they did the street where the sidewalk where they took up,
right?
Because I guess did the trees get into
the trees were terrible in Gateway with the bike riding.
Yeah.
The bike riding, I felt like I was going to die on the bike. Don't ride on the sidewalks because you could die.
A couple of times I have, and I'm not the most coordinated person, as people well know. So a couple of times running down the street in the dark,
you can
you
fall.
might catch a toe. And
well, you guys have started off with probably one of the most polarizing issues that we have in Gateway. So I'm glad we didn't waste any time and went straight to that.
Right into
so
it.
I mean, the one of the things about Gateway is we have beautiful oak canopies and we have great oak trees, and it's part of kind of who we are. Now the problem with that, and not to throw anybody under the bus, but when you have developers coming in and building out communities, they put in these plants or trees like oaks, and they put them in between like a 3 or 5 foot radius between the road and the sidewalk. And just over time, oak trees, their roots are pretty evasive. I mean, they don't wait for anyone. raise your driveway.
Oh,
they'll
yeah.
they'll
Oh, yeah.
approach
Yeah.
the roads and sidewalks. So
Bust through your pool.
the battle that we've been kind of undertaking over the past couple of years is how do you maintain the oaks and also maintain the sidewalks, the integrity? Because you guys ride, I ride, and you run. You go down Gateway Boulevard. I stopped riding on the sidewalks for a while because I wasn't sure if I was going to catch a curb and go.
And there's
get head
But the charm of Gateway Boulevard and by extension, the rest of the community is that canopy. And I was saying, I've said it probably 3 times today, that when we lived in Fort Myers in 1994, we first came here, we had an apartment in town, and I would come out to work at one of the schools. And I thought, boy, if I ever was able to live out here with that street, with that canopy, then to me, I would have arrived.
Right.
And so for us to years later be able to do that, I mean, it's beautiful, but it does come at a cost.
That's exactly it. And I think what most people don't realize is, we've done some things over the past couple of years, which is, root pruning and we've done some repairs, but at some point, it gets to a point where if you prune so much, you damage that tree. And we've made a stance as a board is we love the canopies. We want to keep it. It's who we are. But at some point, you have to do some removal, and it's a polarizing conversation. Matter of fact, you'll probably get more comments around oak trees today than probably any other topic that you're going to run into.
Well, especially by the Stony Brook area where there was so many trees down there. Something needed to be done with those trees, and it looks fine now. It looks like whatever was done worked because at least the side and the sidewalks are much more safer, at least on that end. Now, if you come. And the people on the beach that might be listening have no idea what we're talking about because they never leave the beach.
Right.
They're afraid to leave the beach. But if you're listening or watching and you live in Gateway, you know that from like the 7-Eleven or maybe the restaurant down, it's still bad.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still bad.
We're trying to address that. But again, you're just putting Band-Aids on somebody. So you're going to fix it. And then, gosh, in another couple of years, you're going to have to go and replace it again. So we made some changes. Like instead of using concrete, we use asphalt. Asphalt is a little bit more forgiving. But there's even there's a Facebook page dedicated to
trees,
to the trees,
the tree huggers.
Wow.
And and I appreciate it because we love it, but at the same time, there has to be a balance,
right?
And speaking of kids, I just saw
your daughter showed
in.
up. I see the reason
She's very shy.
The reason I tried to get her to come here was I told Doug this before the show was that. I had a Captains for Clean Water hat and I gave it to her and one of her friends took it from her. So they're setting up their booth over here and we're going to buy her a new hat and we're all going to have hats on the show. And it's starting to rain here, which I'm so glad we brought our tent because, we could use the rain. It hasn't rained that much lately, but now Doug, back to me for a second. I know that she doesn't like to talk about, you're getting our cards wet over there too, dear.
I know.
The Parks Committee that we had back before you got on the Gateway Services District, we started the tree lighting ceremony. That was my idea. And the fishing tournament, which was my idea. And the dog park. Now, what's going on with the dog park?
So, and I was going to open up with this because I don't think most people realize, they probably know Beach Radio, Kim and Ed, but they probably don't know all the stuff that you and Kim participated in and how really kind of fundamental your involvement in this community was. And I not only from like football to the dog park and those things you mentioned, but there's so much philanthropy that you guys did and still do to this day. But, you're not one to really kind of boast that stuff.
Right.
And so I wanted to make sure that when I came on, that a lot of people didn't realize that, and you can be a little polarizing at times, which is, which is part of entertainment.
You got to draw people in.
I
told her to stop.
He does have a pretty big heart and does care about the community.
It's encrusted in a hard shell, but like an M&M, so.
Yeah. And matter of fact, and a lot of people may not know this, but my wife and I started a foundation in Gateway. We ran it for about 4 or 5 years. It's not around anymore, but a lot of that motivation to do that was really based on the things that you guys were doing.
Oh, that's cool.
Not only giving back to the community, but also just the fundraising aspect. And and that's why I love that you're here because Jen and Rob are the same type of individuals. I love how much they give back to the community. They care about their customers. And there's a lot of things that, a lot of people don't see, but, I think it's great that you're here because I think there's a lot that you have in common with Jen and Rob.
Now, so the dog park is still open, right?
Still open. Matter
Cool.
of fact, we just spent about $15,000-$20,000 to resod it.
Nice.
There's probably, I think maybe 100, 150 what I consider dedicated full-time users.
Oh, good. It's still getting used.
There's a subculture at that dog park, and they're very vocal.
It's nice to have it so close.
It is great.
And the tree lighting ceremony, have you scheduled that for this year?
So last year during COVID, we had to cancel. And the year before, we probably had our largest tree lighting ceremony ever. It was huge. Matter of fact, I think we even had fireworks. It was,
oh, wow.
It was big.
Wow.
We had to cancel last year due to COVID. And when we went through budgeting, we weren't sure what we were going to be with the whole pandemic and everything. So we had to pull some of that funding back. And actually, we're going to reallocate it to probably like a July 4th ceremony. So we just talked about our last board meeting. Because it's so short term, we don't know if we can really turn anything around this year.
Right.
So again, it's a shame that we don't have it, because it's probably one of the few events that we have that everyone knows and they all come out. So we'll probably miss it this year, but we're going to probably substitute it with something in July.
And now, because we don't have young children anymore, but the soccer fields, what's going on over there?
Yeah, so our league programs are stronger than ever. Mark Allison has been running Gateway Soccer for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Flag football is probably the largest numbers we've ever had.
Nice.
They've got a board that's running that now, and that's really great. Again, coming back to home with how that flag football got started, Ed, with your efforts and seeing it continue to grow and thrive. And it's great. I mean, what I love about Gateway Community is we do have amenities. We do have fields that draw people in. And I love just driving 2 minutes to a field on a Friday night.
Yeah.
More importantly, driving 2 minutes home afterwards than having to go 15, 30, 45 minutes for an event.
What's so cool about the Gateway fields is that they have lights, so the kids can play at night, and there's nothing. That's the one thing that was always missing from Gateway was Friday night football, like under the lights. And there was even I even tried to figure out how we could you couldn't really turn the soccer fields into a football field because it would really tear them up.
Yeah.
But if there was a Friday night football game in Gateway, it would really be just the icing on the cake with all the other activities.
I remember when in the early years when you had the league, me and a bunch of dads were sitting around and watching our 8-year-olds play flag football, and you're like, God, it'd be really great if one day our kids could play high school football in the community. And again, from that point until 10 years after that, the kids would get separated at middle school and they go to different high schools, and so a lot of the kids that grew up together weren't able to play sports together. And now we've got a high school here, and so when you talk about Friday night under the lights, you've got two you've got the charter, and the big new one. Yeah. Well, the new one actually has a field.
Yeah. For sure.
And what I would love to see, and
that is a big school.
It is a big school, and it is beautiful.
Yeah.
It is really beautiful. But I'd love to see the community really start embracing, the high school to be able to go and watch, whether you have kids or not. And oddly enough, we've heard a lot of people that live in Pelican, the retired community, who are really excited about going to
get out of here. That's where the old people live.
That's right. But they have grandkids that aren't close, and so that group's pretty active. So
now, Doug, how old are you?
So I turned 50 next month.
You turn 50 next month.
Now 50 next month.
Tell us what happened to you a few years ago, or how long ago?
Well, it's not even been a few years ago. It's been less than a year.
Okay. What happened?
Yeah. So in July of last year, I was sitting in Captiva on the beach, July 4th. And then the following week I'd had I felt like I had tonsillitis or, strep throat or something. So I went to go see my doctor, and he goes, yeah, you got one of your tonsils swollen. It's probably tonsillitis. Let's put you on some antibiotics. And then he said, look, we should probably just, take your tonsils out. Not a big deal. Most people have it done when it's younger. It'll be a little painful, but, not a big deal. So as we were doing that, they did a biopsy. I was scheduled to go in to have my tonsils removed on a Tuesday. And Monday, the doctor called me and said, Doug, the biopsy came back and it's cancerous. You've got the throat cancer. So on July 4th, I'm on the beach. 30 days later, I started chemo and radiation. So I went through 3 months of chemo, radiation.
Wow.
And it was the most humbling experience I've ever been through.
Well, for sure.
Now, no family history, kind of like out of the
it's been
blue,
spotty.
or?
I mean, not throat cancer, so to speak. But, I think if you go back one of my my aunt had leukemia and died of leukemia when she was probably in her early 20s, but nothing that really jumped out, you know.
Crazy.
But Doug, for as long as I've known you,
and you're
not,
a health nut.
yeah, you're not been a smoker.
No.
So that's just a crapshoot. You just
it was
it's a bad,
it's one of those things that
It's
happen.
crappy. Yeah.
Now the good news is the type of cancer that I had, the doctor said, look, Doug, there's a really high recovery rate. So if we go through the treatment, you know, but what you hear is cancer.
Right.
yeah, oh yeah.
And
And you have 4 kids.
and that was the toughest thing for me is how, you know, going home and telling my, you know, not only my 19-year-old, but my 16-year-old, my 12-year-old, and probably most importantly, my 8-year-old, because he, you know, didn't really
Right.
understand everything. And that was probably the most difficult thing for me is explaining to the kids that, hey, dad's got cancer, but it's going to be okay.
Right.
You know,
That's
but
a
even not
scary
knowing if it really
situation.
is.
Right.
So what did the doctor tell you, like the survival rate of throat cancer is?
Well, he said there was best case scenario, there's about a 90% recovery rate.
Okay.
You know, it doesn't mean 100%. And when you talk about cancer, a lot of times, you know, cancer survivors are really reluctant to say cancer free. A lot of times they say I'm in remission or something along those lines, because it does take about probably 2 to 3 years. But you know, there's still no, you know, I go in and get checked. Well, first it was, you know, 2 months, then 6 months, and then I'll go in like annually. So I went through 3 months of treatment. In January, I went in for a scan, and that's when they said we can't find any traces of cancer. So in our mind, right now you're 100% cancer free.
Wow.
And that was tough. And when you're talking about radiation on your throat, basically it's 3rd-degree burns. You know, the radiation gives you 3rd-degree burns in your throat. So I had a feeding tube, and I was trying to be a tough guy, and so, you know, I'll get through it. You know, I don't need to have a feeding tube. I was trying to pound protein shakes. So my goal was 2,000 calories a day. I could just maintain 2,000 calories. That's enough for my body to sustain. But after about 3 weeks, it got tough. You know, it was really tough. So I had a feeding tube, which my 8-year-old thought was the coolest thing. So I'm basically injecting protein shakes 4 times a day, about
into the feeding tube,
a liter and a half, and then all the medication. So
when you, how painful was that? The whole thing?
Well, the radiation was the most painful, because you're in a constant state of just burning and irritation. The side effects from chemo was also tough too. A lot of people experience a lot of nausea. Now I didn't. I had some, but I never. You know, it wasn't too bad. They give you some medication for it, but you're just in a zombie-like state.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're out of it. The chemo just attacks your body, and the chemo is what you've got. The chemo attacks the blood, and the radiation helps amplify it. So they work hand in hand. Now, I did talk to a buddy of mine who also, oddly enough, had gone through the same similar cancer treatment 3 months before me. He's a psychiatrist in Naples. And he said now what they're doing is the new treatment is they're not doing chemo. They're just doing like 15 to 20 radiation treatments. And the reason for that is they've seen such a high success rate, they're starting to dial the treatment back. So they're almost over-treating because of the high success rate. So now they're starting to modify it, which is good for people that, you know, experience throat cancer. But, you know, I wasn't in that post phase, so I had to go through it the hard way.
So how are you feeling?
Good. I think I was telling you earlier, I put on about 12 pounds prior to treatment because the doctor said, Doug, you're going to lose a lot of weight. So I was, you know, eating like a 13-year-old, burgers, Krispy Kreme, you know. And then I lost probably 25 pounds.
Wow.
So I'm about close to my normal weight. The biggest thing for me that I experienced was just the muscle mass, because for almost 3 months, you're just not doing anything.
Right.
I'm laying in bed, sitting in a couch. But the one thing for me, and I think this is, you know, important to bring up, it was one of the most humbling experiences I've ever been in. And I consider myself a pretty empathetic person, but when you're in a chemo room with 40 other patients at various stages of cancer, because we're all in there, doesn't matter what kind of cancer you have, they're all going through chemo.
And some of them are not going to live.
And I'm going there weekly. And one week I get there and I don't see the person who was sitting next to me last week. And there was one person I was sitting next to. She'd been in the chair for 45 minutes waiting. And what you do is you come in, they put your IV in, they start you with fluids, and then they do like 3 different types of treatments. It's about a 5-hour treatment. So you're in there for 5 hours. And the nurse comes in, and I can't remember her name, but she goes, hey, we're going to have to we're going to have to postpone your treatment today because we're still waiting for authorization from your insurance company. And I remember sitting there going,
wow.
And when you're going through treatment, you count every treatment, because it's just one more that you
till you're
to
done.
get you closer.
Right.
You were counting every one, and I can't imagine if I had to skip one, because that just prolongs it another week, another 2 weeks, and I couldn't believe
what
that
a bunch
this
of bullshit
person
that was.
had to wait and come back because of an authorization. Now the nurse
she didn't say that to you. She
said it to the person next to me.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I see. I thought she said
and the
it
nurse
to you.
was, trying to be,
Right.
as nice as possible, but it was out of her hands. But I said, I cannot believe that we're not going to allow this person to go through treatment because they're waiting on some kind of authorization.
I never thought that kind of thing happened.
Yeah.
At
Now there might be some more details to it that I picked up on just what little bit I heard.
Right.
But
so,
but that's the type of stuff that was like, gosh, this is really tough.
Yeah, and so you're feeling like it's past you now, or
I think so.
Yeah.
I think physically, I'm feeling good. The only kind of side effects that I have right now is just, again, trying to build muscle mass back up. My endurance is pretty good. I'm still pretty athletic, but my taste buds. So the one thing you lose during radiation is all sense of taste. You can't taste anything. It's almost like having COVID.
Right. Which doesn't help you gain weight because you can't
everything
taste
tastes terrible.
anything.
Yeah.
I mean, so either one, when you're coming out, your throat is really sensitive, so it's hard, it hurts, but then you can't taste it. But now I'm 9 months out, about 9 months post treatment, and my taste buds are about 70%. So some things I can taste, some things just don't taste that great. Which you want to enjoy eating. Like for me the whole time.
Right.
This was funny, and Charlie, my wife, said, why are you putting yourself through this torture? And I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, all you do is watch food videos, like during my treatment.
Are
I don't
you
know
serious? Why were you doing that? What is
just
wrong with you?
I was just,
were they on
all I wanted to
TikTok?
do-
Were they on TikTok or YouTube?
I think it was YouTube, just YouTube videos. And like, David Portnoy, the pizza guy, One Bite, Everybody Knows the Rules, was watching him. She goes, why are you watching these food videos? And I said, well, I can't eat. So that's all I thought about. So all I wanted at a treatment was I wanted a beer and a slice of pizza. And I've had both, but the pizza just doesn't taste quite as good. I'm not there yet. And they say it might take a year. Sometimes you don't get all of it.
Well, your voice is good, though.
Yeah, it's not bad.
How many push-ups can you do in 3 minutes?
Well,
do you
I don't
think
know.
right now?
I
I mean, what do you think the count is
Here
right
we
now? I mean, you're
go.
going to be 50,
Here we
so
go.
you're
I don't know.
reaching
And how long?
teaser.
3 minutes?
3
Yeah.
minutes.
I don't know.
100, 150,
I don't-
200?
No, I don't know if
Take a guess.
got to be 200.
Because you're going to go home and you're going to videotape yourself
I'll
doing
do
them.
it. I'll video it and I'll let you know.
All right, good.
And I'll
Now-
have my 8-year-old do it with me because he's a beast.
I'm sure he can do very many because your
I will
sons
say
are
that
super athletic.
He only got 100. So
I
that's
also
your mark.
had probably 10 rum drinks by the time I did them. It was like 11 o'clock at night.
You're such
So
a deflector.
let's talk about Gateway a little bit. You guys put not you guys, but the county put a roundabout in a very dangerous intersection, which was really cool. Most people are still trying to figure out how to use a roundabout.
Right.
Some people aren't sure yet. Over by the 7-Eleven, something's going on
Another
there. Tell us,
roundabout.
okay,
Yep.
what's with the piping?
So to give you a little history, just in the whole thing. So as Gateway has grown, traffic has increased. Once they, you used to couldn't go through to 82, right? Back in, there was a circle. When they cut that through, then Gateway became a cut through to 82. And then as we've grown, traffic has gotten worse or more heavy.
Schools went in.
Schools went in.
The
There's a lot of things.
schools went in, yep.
So there's been DOT, Department of Transportation studies done for over the years, quite a few, and something needed to be done.
Oh,
Now,
yeah.
I think most people were expecting a light, which, probably would have been a little cheaper. But the DOT came into a lot of studies. They came to the district and did several presentations, and roundabouts are not that popular in Fort Myers.
Nope.
There was a couple that have already gone in, but I think looking at some of the studies, the continuous flow is a big aspect. And with roundabouts, you have lower, let's call it high impact accidents. So you don't get the T-bones.
Because
what
you
might
slow
get is
down.
you might get some dings or some bumper stuff. But so there was studies done in the county, and what's important that like the counties own our roads now in Gateway. Right. So they're the ones that make our decision. So regardless of what they decided to do, we didn't have much input on it. So the first roundabout that went in was over by the new high school. And the second one has been on Gateway Boulevard. And then there's a third that's going to go in on Griffin. The pipes that you see is infrastructure, water and sewage that have to be moved because you don't
Oh,
want
I
those
see.
underneath
I
hard
see.
surfaces.
So that has nothing to do
So
with
there's
that
nothing
empty
going
lot
in with
next
in
to the
that-
bank.
okay.
Nothing with the empty lot. That's
What's
all,
going on in that lot?
So that's going to be a condo apartment building.
Oh, it
So
is.
there's about 200 that's going to go in. 200, 225.
When is that moving along?
Well, we're still waiting on permit plans. So I think we're probably still maybe a couple years before
Okay.
it'll be up and running.
I
but
mean,
it's moved faster in the last probably 3
sure,
to 6
'cause you
months
can't
than
find
it has
anywhere
in
to-
the past year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah, because you can't find anywhere to live these
Right.
days, and housing and
Affordable
apartments
housing is
Well,
rough
we're almost going to
everywhere.
hit a point in Gateway where we're done.
We're
Yeah.
critical mass. Yeah.
That lot, when those apartments go up, and with the remaining developments in Pelican, and the development that's happening, just kind of up towards Daniel's Parkway, then we'll be done.
Right.
There'll be no more available space in Gateway. We would have reached capacity.
Now,
Well,
I
and
know.
I will say there's quite not that it's part of Gateway, but it's amazing to me, having been here as long as we have, how much has gone in
Oh,
down
yeah.
down Daniels.
Right. Yeah.
Like behind where the new
Yeah,
high
that'll
school
all be
is.
developed out.
It's
Now-
crazy. Oh my.
Now I know this has nothing to do with you, but the 7-Eleven that we have in Gateway,
Yeah.
the most horrible customer service on the planet, and I know you can't
that's
say any.
unfair.
Maybe they're terrible.
That's
but
unfair.
that's
How
what
many
you get
times are you in there?
when you get. I try to avoid going there because they're
All right.
so.
Well, I've been in there
slow.
plenty, and
They're
it's been
so-
fine.
They're so bad, and if a Wawa ever came in or something else ever came in, the 7-Eleven would close down. Now
Yeah.
you don't have to comment if you don't.
Well,
want
what
to.
I would say is any businesses in our community, I think it's so important to have good customer service because it's the community. It doesn't take much for someone to experience bad customer service. And then now the one thing that I think some businesses in Gateway get away with is they're here.
You're a monopoly,
and it's convenient. I would love to see the 7-Eleven get remodeled.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
like
Hasn't
from
been
the
updated in a while.
60s.
I mean, the 7-Eleven on 82 actually had to catch on fire for them to remodel
Right,
it.
right, right,
So
right.
they
Oh, is that
completely
what happened
remodeled-
over there? Oh, I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
there was a fire inside and they completely remodeled. And I was just in there last week. Like,
Oh,
this
they
is
opened.
beautiful.
They
like,
finally
It's
did
new.
open. Yeah.
Well,
That's what I want in
but
so
there's
Gateway.
a Wawa right around the corner.
Yeah, but
from
so
them.
what we need to do is light the 7-Eleven and Gateway on fire
Stop.
by accident.
He's not being serious.
But I do think what the community should do is use their voice. And,
Those people
When you-
don't care. The
Yeah,
owners of that
well,
7-Eleven
but
don't
you know,
care.
the power of the people
Yeah.
do have weight.
And what's
Uh,
going on with gas prices, Doug? I mean, it's crazy. I mean,
Yeah,
did
man,
you
I
vote for
can't
Joe
tell you about
Biden?
that.
Did you
He
vote for
doesn't
Joe
have
Biden?
anything
I mean,
to do with
jeepers,
that.
creepers. It's like $7 a gallon now.
Yeah, and that's to try to get from here to the beach.
Yeah,
is
it's
gonna.
crazy, especially in the
Well,
thing.
and I
the
got a
beast that
Suburban.
drive.
I need to get rid of it because I used to, I had it to drive all my kids around, but
Right.
it's too expensive.
No.
Now,
Yeah.
Doug, let's get down to the serious business here. What is your favorite beer here?
Well, I remember coming to the brewery when it first opened,
Mm-hmm.
and
It was tiny.
there was just a garage,
Yeah,
and then
yep.
and then one little teeny tiny room,
I'm
and
gonna
everyone was
turn
so excited about it.
I'm going to turn the camera around so people can see what's going on out there. But go ahead.
So,
You haven't had camera around the whole time?
and I think at that time they only had a couple beers. They had Gateway Gold, and I'm not even sure if they had the IPA, the High Five, but the High Five has always been my favorite. It's a really good IPA, but you know what?
I love the high five.
I haven't.
Yes.
The only beers that I'm not really crazy about is the sours. I'm just not a sours guy,
Me neither.
and not big on seltzers. But everything they do here is fantastic.
Yeah, they're super nice people, and we're going to have them on before we buzz out of here because they're expanding even further with it's like a campus. It's
Yeah.
going to be gigantic.
Well,
and
I remember years ago coming here. They had expanded. I guess they had the second spot, but and doing they used to, and they may still do it. The beer yoga.
Yeah, I don't know about beer yoga, but I do know the beer mile, and you and Ed
Oh
know the.
yes. Oh yeah. We were talking about that. They do. Folks, you need to come out when they do this. So it's a beer mile. And you can do it as one, or you can do it as a team of four.
Yeah.
So we were lucky enough to get a really crackerjack team of four. I think we took home the win a couple of times. And every quarter mile, you have to drink a beer and then keep on going.
Yeah.
Now, if you're one of ground is wet and the sprinklers
Yeah.
don't have to come on, because considering the environment and trying to conserve water,
Yeah.
there's times when it's pretty well saturated and they're just coming on.
Yeah, there's two things to that. One is, with new technology, will help us be more efficient with how we water. Not only pressure, but I know you guys have been riding on the sidewalk sometimes, and the sprinklers come on, and it wets the sidewalk. So we need to redo that. Now, sometimes with the irrigation, we are under some commitments of the county to release a certain amount of water. So sometimes it's by design. So we have, during the rainy season,
So
we have to
you
release some water
So
so
this
we
is
don't
like
overflow.
Lake Okeechobee now. You got to release
We got to
water.
release some. Most people don't realize that, but but we want to try to control that so it's not in areas that would saturate the ground, which would make it counterproductive.
Are they ever going to do a ban on
Glyphosate.
Yeah,
No.
glyphosate.
Not in Gateway. They don't have that.
A ban on what?
On
Roundup.
Roundup.
Oh,
Because we do. So
we're
the water
const-
is reclaimed, right? And then is
Yep.
it processed before
It
it's
is,
spread
yeah.
out? Okay.
Yeah.
How many gators are
But
in
it's
Gateway?
not like you should be
A bunch.
drinking it.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you can drink out of your hose. You can drink that water. It's fine. It's clean. Now, irrigation,
Not so much.
Maybe
Smell-
not
I
so
wouldn't-
much.
I wouldn't have the kids drinking the irrigation water. I mean, it's not going to hurt them, but just
smells
it's
a
not,
little bit like manure when you're driving by.
It's probably not as high
Sometimes
quality.
I'll
as,
be driving to the Walmart out Gateway Boulevard, and the sprinklers will shoot right at my
I
vehicle.
know.
Something needs to be done about
yeah,
that. That's a
we're
minor
working
thing,
on
though.
it. We're working on
Doug,
it.
thanks so much for
Talk
coming
about it.
Thanks,
on.
guys.
We
Always
appreciate
a
your time.
pleasure.
Doug Banks,
Enjoy
everybody.
your time.
A big hand for
Thank you.
Doug.
Thank
He is the
you.
chairman of the Gateway
Thanks,
Services
everyone.
District, and he's a rocking good guy. He's super nice guy and cancer-free right now. And so
Well, he's in remission. And we're,
yes.
yeah.
And we hope the best for him, and his lovely wife is here too. But right now, coming to the stage here at the Fort Myers Brewery is one of our good buddies from Captains for Clean Water, Captain Dan. How are you, man? How are you? Thanks for coming on.
Good. How are you?
So nice of
Good.
you
Nice to have you back.
to come down to Gateway. And what's the event about here today? Tell us all about it.
So it's just kind of an awareness event, a little bit of a fundraiser, but mostly just to get a bunch of people out. It's been obviously with COVID, the events have kind of thinned out, but we're trying to get back in the groove with things. And this was actually where our very first fundraiser was for the organization.
Oh,
So
is that right?
Yeah. We
Wow.
figured it's a good
Back-
place to get a bunch of people.
And when was that?
That would have either been 2016 or 2017.
Wow.
I can't remember. It's been so long ago.
Yeah.
Um,
So
And so much has happened. I mean,
yeah.
you guys, started this, and then it just seemed to explode. It really resonated with folks.
Yeah, it's an issue that we're just one small piece of the overall effort trying to fix it, but it's an issue that it's caused so much economic, so many quality of life problems, as you all know, being out on the
Mhm.
beach. People want answers. They want to see the needle moved on these things. As I've heard in your last couple of shows, you've really become the LOSOM expert yourself.
right here.
And that's what it takes to fix these problems. It takes a bunch of people like yourself that really understand it and that can communicate on it.
Well, I
It's
wouldn't
not
go
easy.
that far,
but it's not easy.
It
It's
is,
a lot of layers and
Yeah,
a lot of
moving pieces
digging.
for sure.
Now, before we get into the meat of what's coming up with LOSOM, for the people in Gateway that might not know, Dan, how did the captains get started? I mean, what was the whole basis for getting the organization rolling?
Sure. So Captain started in 2016. I was born and raised here in Southwest Florida, and I'd seen the discharges a lot, but it was the first time they were happening right in the middle of our tourist season. And we saw a lot of people were angry. They wanted to do something about it. And we just kind of felt the same. And there was a lot of uncertainty. People didn't understand why the problem was happening. So we founded the organization just to give people the educational information they need to make better decisions and to be more involved in the process. Obviously, lots happened since then. And we've begun to tackle more kind of aspects of the issue. But yeah, it was.
Now, when you say discharges, you mean from Lake Okeechobee. So
Yeah,
people
yeah.
that are really on the peripheral and not following it, the discharges from Lake Okeechobee that wind their way down
Well,
here and cause some issues.
I think what really got people's attention here and even farther out from the beach was 2018 when it crushed this area.
Yeah, what we saw in 2018 was unlike anything I've ever seen in my life here. And I mean, even this brewery here, I mean, look at all the beer they sell down on the barrier islands. Nobody was buying it. I mean, it impacted literally everybody in Southwest Florida.
Now,
I think it's hard. It's not hard, but for me, it's been eye-opening to just realize that the economy of here, it's not a green economy. It is a blue economy. It is the water. And without that water, everything else is really going to suffer.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I saw it as a fishing guide. Everybody that came onto my boat, they would then go eat at a restaurant that night. A lot of them were staying in hotels here. A lot of them were looking to buy property. They'd come to places like the brewery or a lot of different just entertainment venues in town. And, the water is what drew them in here, but everything else is kind of living off that as well. So it's even everything that's one step removed from it still depends on that clean water.
Now you and Chris are fishing guides, or tell us what you do. I mean, this isn't a day job. This is your
so now this is full time.
Oh, gotcha.
For a bunch of people. I was a fishing guide. I was a fishing guide here from about 2011. And then by about 2017, 2018, captains was taking up more and more of my time. And being a fishing guide is kind of like being a surgeon. If you're not doing it every day, you're not going to be real good at it. And, for me now that I've got, really hardly any free time at all, as some of my friends that can attest, I've taken out fishing recently and not quite as on it as I used to be. But when I was guiding, I was out there 300 plus days a year.
Sweet.
And when you're out there all the time, you notice little changes, and it's much easier to see that when you have the discharges, here's the impacts that they're having.
Now, did you ever expect that when you started Captains for Clean Water that you'd be one of 8-10 people that stand behind Governor DeSantis at almost every press conference that has to do with water? It seems like you're either this may be wrong if I'm saying it, but you're clearly an ally of his. He wouldn't have you behind you if that wasn't the way the relationship was. So you meet privately with them? Do you guys have chats all the time about the water issues?
Do you have him on speed dial?
It just seems like you're always there.
Sorry.
And I just want to push Adam Botana out of the picture because the guy doesn't do anything compared to what you guys do, but that's a different story. But did you ever expect that would happen with you?
So no, I didn't. I really had no idea what was involved with all this when we first started the organization. We actually met DeSantis when he was in Congress. Chauncey Goss, who's one of our board members, and he now put as the head of the water management district. We were up in Washington. Chauncey texted him like, "Hey, I want you to meet these guys and talk." And we talked to him for like 2 minutes about it, and he's like, "Got it. What can I do to help?" And he very quickly understood the issue. He came down here in 2018. He heard from us. We told him what we wanted, and his second day in office, he started to make these sweeping changes. Right. Got rid of the old governing board at the water management district. Really laid out his 4-year plan on what he was going to do. And we're between me and our team. We're in regular conversation with his office, and he's definitely had a level of leadership that we hadn't seen at the gubernatorial level, at least in my lifetime since I've been paying attention to this. And that's the reason why there's projects happening right now. He kind of took a no BS approach to this and wanted to start moving the needle on it.
Now, we're talking about it. We're alluding to it. LOSUM's coming out. So before we get into that, what is your relationship with the Army Corps of Engineers? Have you been able to meet with them on and off? Do you have, the same input there as you did with DeSantis?
Yeah. So great question. First of all,
we have a bell that we ring when someone says great question. That's why. But he didn't bring it.
It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen a lot when she asks questions.
Yeah, no. So it's first of all, DeSantis obviously being a politician is a little bit more, pays more attention to public perception. You have a bureaucracy like the Corps. It's a little bit more challenging. I will say the Corps has shifted in the last 5 years. They care a lot more about public perception and want a better image, and that's kind of helped steer them to be more open-minded. They're still the Corps. They're still very by the book. I would say our relationship with them now is better than it has been in the past. They are more open. They do communicate with our staff regularly. We don't always get the answers that we want from them, but I think Colonel Kelly did a good job kind of shifting what the Corps was doing. It's definitely different than dealing with an elected official for sure. They don't answer to anybody, they don't answer to the president of the United States in their mind. So it's definitely a challenge.
They have seemed to, I mean, it seemed like they were really out there getting public input on this new plan that's coming out, this new book, as you were talking about. Now we'll see coming up on Tuesday.
Hold on a second, dear. Now, do you feel like?
See, you messed up my segue.
Do you feel like Colonel Booth, the new colonel, is as open to conversations about making sure we don't get screwed on this side as seemed like Colonel Kelly was?
Yeah, so Colonel Kelly definitely was. I met with Colonel Booth a few times. He definitely seems to understand it. I think a lot of us are sitting back kind of cautiously optimistic right now. We're continuing to put pressure there. Colonel Kelly definitely had it right. I think, like I said, we're cautiously optimistic. It's such a big portfolio to grasp, just inside Everglades restoration and LOSOM. Then you've got all these other different issues that are obviously in the Corps portfolio. But I think he understands it. We'll see. Time will tell. But I think the best thing people can do right now is just keep the pressure on him. He needs to see that.
Before we get into the specifics of LOSOM, which we probably should explain what that word means, dear. Some people like to criticize Captains for Clean Water in this community and maybe even try and step on your back to make a bigger name for themselves. How can you make people feel at ease that you're trying to do what's best for the water and it's just not water in a specific area, or am I getting it wrong?
No, I think there's two to go back to what you said there, as far as some people that aren't really on the same page. I think they fit into kind of two categories. There is a clear opposition that we have in this fight. The sugar industry is what's good for them is bad for us, and vice versa. So we're trying to fix that balance. So there's some people that are great advocates on behalf of the sugar industry, and they're opposed to what we're doing. There's also political figures, I'm going to leave names out of this, but that are trying to be front and center on anything and everything. And we ignore that stuff. We stay out of it. It's not helpful to the cause overall. It's like I said in the beginning, Captains is one small piece in a bigger overall effort, and we all have to see that this is a team effort. There is no I in this. There is no single organization. It's about everybody working together to put the pressure on.
When you started Captains for Clean Water, did you ever think it would get to the political point where people would actually criticize what you were thinking about doing?
So ironically, I probably wouldn't be here if that didn't happen. Within about 3 weeks of starting Captains for Clean Water, we got some fake news hit piece on us that was about how we formed this organization to slow down Everglades restoration. I'm like,
which is the exact opposite.
And I'd never seen anything like that before. And that's what really, to me, made it intriguing. And the more you start to dig into it, the more it happened. It's kind of like, well, that's the exact reason why we need to exist. Because in the past, anytime any individual stood up on this, opposition comes at them from 20 different angles and just attacks them until they shrivel up and wither away or tuck their tail and run. So I didn't expect it on day one, but as it started coming, it just reinforced the need for why we need to be here.
So for anyone that's watching or listening that heard us say LOSOM very 5 or 6 times, it stands for the Lake Okeechobee System Operating Manual.
Nice job.
And that will dictate how the lake is managed for the next decade.
Yeah.
I guess you're allowed to tweak it a little bit along the way, or it seemed like the last plan was. And the goal is that we don't get screwed on this side of the state.
Well, the goal is to achieve balance throughout the entire system.
Right. And so there seems to be a bit of a battle between this coast and the other coast and also sugar. So what is your goal here with LOSOM? When the Corps meets on the 26th and there's supposed to be some kind of modification to the plan as it was put out previously, what are you looking for?
So I think what we're going to see on October 26th is still just going to be another chapter. I don't think it's going to be the final thing. Okay. We were hoping it was, and talked to the Corps last week, and they're like, well, we're gonna still show you several different options on the 26th. And so I don't think it's going to be their final tentatively selected plan. I think we're going to see that in November. But I think every stakeholder group, West Coast, East Coast, Everglades, Sugar, Lake Okeechobee, I think everybody has expectations that of what they want for their area that none of them are really realistic. We've seen that a lot with the East Coast, and you've seen it with the sugar industry and with the lake. And I think the reality here is there's only so much you can squeeze out of this, that everybody wants this to be a perfect solution, and it's not going to be.
Well, I think that, and as I've been talking to people and Eve Samples and a bunch of different people, is that
Name dropper.
I know, right? So one of the challenges is that this isn't just going to, that operating manual can't solve all these problems.
Yeah.
One of the things is they need more stormwater treatment areas.
Yeah.
And they need more land for that. And so what's the problem with getting more land is there's nothing to buy, there's nothing available, Yeah,
so the land, if you want to build those stormwater treatment areas, which we absolutely do need to build more, that'll be an ongoing thing for a while. The best place to put them is in the Everglades agricultural area, which is where U.S. Sugar and Florida Crystals are currently operating. And right now they don't want to sell. They made that clear. There's been times in the past that they did, but they've even filed lawsuits recently on the reservoir project, just because when you build those stormwater treatment areas, they have a water demand. So they're using water even in the dry season, and that's their issue with them. So that I think that's kind of the challenge politically is, they don't want to sell it because that as soon as they sell it, then that land is a competing water user for them.
So the question, thank you. I mean, we can't have, you got to have a beer there. So the question I have for you is, Kevin Ruane, the county chairman, has kind of laid out there that he's going to be willing to file lawsuits if things don't go the way he wants them to go.
Yeah.
Are you on the same page as the county board here in Lee County?
I would like to see what's the criteria for that lawsuit. I think just kind of vaguely saying, we're going to sue if I don't like it. I think it's better to define, at this point, when we cross this threshold, if it's worse for us than Lore's, yes, for sure. Okay. But
Lore's being the current.
Right.
Manual,
we have to have something that's better than what we have right now. But I think as long as we do have something that's better, I don't see how
But do you want the same thing he wants, or do you feel like you're more broad? You got to deal with a bigger area than just our side of it, because he's, he wants what's best for Southwest Florida and Lee County specifically. But do you feel like that your organization needs to be more broad and help
more
people
inclusive?
in more communities?
Yeah, I mean, we're focused on all of South Florida. We want to see a benefit for the West Coast, the Everglades and the Keys,
Gotcha.
and the East Coast entirely. But there has to be an improvement in this LOSOM for all three of those estuaries.
Yeah.
Right.
Look at this.
Oh,
Nice.
boy, thank you.
The owners of the Fort Myers Brewery are coming up next. They're going to tell us about their expansion.
Yeah.
But the two more questions for me, dear, before we let
go.
Dan go to his event here, is that let me make sure I can remember. Sometimes I forget questions you may recall from your appearance on the beach. So Brian Mast has been wicked good at protecting his side of the state. Is Byron Donalds doing a strong job on the water issue here on this side?
Yeah, he is. For Brian, this is his number one issue, and it has been for a long time. So he's been up in Congress. He understands politics within the core, and he's been very effective there. Byron's new up there, but they've been listening to us. We've been working with them. And I think that, I know Jesse Perdone here, district director, is very engaged on this. It's definitely, for Brian, it's easier because he's on Transportation Infrastructure Committee. So he's got a little bit more pull there with the core. But yeah, I mean, Byron has been attentive to what we need. And we were just up in Washington, met with the staff up there. They get it. They're paying attention, and they've come forward wanting to listen. So I think that's definitely important.
Well, I think too, it's a little, I don't want to say easier, but it's a little on the East Coast. They just don't want any water.
Yeah.
We need we need some water in the dry season, but we don't want too much in the wet season because we have such a big watershed. And part of the issue is that watershed isn't accounted for when they're doing releases. Is that correct?
Currently, that is correct. Yeah, they don't account for that. We think that at least most of the LOSOM schedule, until they hit those, that very upper band or maybe the top 2 upper bands, until that's hit, it's looking like they're going to account for watershed.
So they'll measure not at 77, but at 79, which is in Alva.
Yeah. And
you guys are really getting in the weeds here.
But it only makes sense.
No, it's important stuff.
It only makes sense because it sounds not so bad at 77, but then all this water comes in, and it's water that's being affected by seepage from some sewage. It's also all the glyphosate and all of that, and so
you're getting too deep in the weeds here. We need to do a Captains for Clean Water podcast every single week because that's how important it is. But I agree. So before we let you go, how do you what's your funding from? I mean, you're doing a fundraiser today. You're doing fundraisers all the time. Where do you get your funding from so people can get out there and help you out?
Yeah, I mean, this is a great opportunity here today at Fort Myers Brewing Company. Well over half of our donations are small donations, whether it's a membership, a hat, or $500 or less donation. That's where we get most of it from. We have a handful of events. It kind of got slowed down in COVID, but I mean, the easiest thing you can do is either become a member or buy a hat on the site.
Awesome.
So now give out the website and talk about, you can be a member, you can do a donation. You guys have a newsletter, and you also help, not help, but you have a template for people to get a hold of their congressperson and make their voices heard.
Yeah. So if you go to captainsforcleanwater.org, right on the homepage, you'll see something you can do to take action on LOSOM right now. We've had over 25,000 people that have filled that out. That's far more than any organization that I'm aware of. And the primary thing right now that we're pushing for there is reduced discharges to the Caloosahatchee. So we've had 25,000 of those messages go out. Another one is only going to help. Like I said, we have this new colonel in here now, Colonel Booth. I think the more pressure he sees right now on how important this is, especially for the West Coast, to reduce discharges, I think that's going to ultimately end up being a better outcome for us.
Right.
Well, Dan, thanks so much for coming on. Anything we can do to help, we always appreciate seeing you here on the beach or on your Facebook page. You guys, sometimes we see you out at the at Lake Okeechobee or one of the locks or something, just doing a live cut in there, and people should get on the website and donate if they can buy a hat. We're going to buy a couple of hats before we leave today. Come on down to the Fort Myers Brewery and support Captains for Clean Water. They're doing the right thing for the water, and we really need to support them as much as we can with coming down here and financially maybe get a membership. How much of the memberships are at different
30?
levels?
So membership's $30.
Cool.
And hats, I believe, start around $25.
Nice.
So.
Well, thanks so much.
Yeah.
And,
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming all the way out here today.
Yeah.
For us.
We live right here.
We live right here.
okay.
Yeah, this was great.
We
This
go all
was
the way to the
perfect.
beach.
Yeah.
There you
That's
go.
a hike.
Dan Andrews, everybody,
Thank you
from
so much.
Captains
Thanks
for
a
Clean Water. Come on down and support Captains for Clean Water. The event's going on from it just started at 4:00, and I believe they're going until 7:00 tonight. There's live music, there's food trucks, and the crowd is going to get larger. And there's nothing better than doing a show with beer. And they have hats, and they have their own tent set up. So we invite you to come on down and enjoy the festivities. And are you taking a break or something? I mean, I sit down, for crying out loud. I mean, geez, we're going to have right now. We're going to have the owners of the Fort Myers Brewery, and this I've been trying to get this interview for a long time. I know you guys are so super busy, and there's nothing. Oh, that's right. You're going to sit there, but our camera's going to be right here. So we'll wait till she gets back here. Come on, dear. Have a seat. And right now we're talking to Rob and Jen from the Fort Myers Brewery. And dear, you started off.
All right. So welcome, and thank you for having this event.
Yeah, thanks for coming out. We're excited.
So
to have
I've
it.
done a little bit of
There we go.
history, but tell us, how did you guys get started? Because the story is it's really like a Cinderella story. I mean, it's just, well, the
Where do you wanna
abbreviated
start?
section, because it's warm out here,
There you
and
Good now. Oh, I was off.
yeah.
So first of all, thank you for having us down here. I mean,
Yeah.
there's nothing better than to do a show surrounded by beer and food and Captains for Clean Water. Super great organization. What Dan said was that one of his first fundraisers was here, and I imagine that was when you guys were like in a cubbyhole.
Can you let them do the history, and then that'll probably segue right into it. Yeah,
is it like this at your house, or is
welcome.
it just like this at
We
my
should have
house?
prepared you.
So yes, their first fundraiser I believe was in 2016, and it was here. So
But you guys got started in 2013?
we opened in 2013, but my home brewing began in 1990.
Wow.
Me and my buddies figured out that you could go to the homebrew store and buy all the ingredients to make beer, and you didn't have to be 21. So we made really strong beer that was really terrible. Did that for a few years, and then we turned 21 and started drinking beer
And that was all before my time, so I didn't know that he homebrewed.
she was an
I
elementary.
see. I see.
But
Wait,
but
is there a big age difference? Is that why you say
Not
that?
too bad.
Okay. Well, what is the total age difference?
6 years.
16
Yeah.
years.
No,
Wow,
no,
that's.
Six.
Oh, sorry. I thought you said
Lord.
16.
Robin the Critter.
Sorry about that.
I know.
Now,
Wow.
did you just have a birthday?
I did.
What was it?
I just
50?
turned 50.
50. And you guys were off on vacation. I'm trying to get in
Now
touch with you guys.
Now he's
And
giving away your age by virtue of that.
So he started that homebrewing before I was around, and he had given it up also before I was around. And we were living in San Diego,
nice.
and I had taken a job back in Michigan, my home state, and I was gone 6 weeks, home 3 days. And I came home one day to a hose coming out the front door, and I thought I was coming home to plumbing problems.
Oh
And I
my
thought, "Oh, this
goodness.
stinks." And I walked in, and the hose was connected to the sink, and there were all these glass containers all over the place.
Like Breaking Bad, you know?
Oh, wow.
And the fridge, all the shelves were out of the fridge, and it was stacked full of cakes, and I couldn't find him. I was like, "What the heck's going on?"
He's laid out in the back, all hammered.
Glass vessels in the backyard.
So what, how do you get an idea to just start thinking about, I want to try and brew beer?
So I started up homebrewing again, like she was telling you, and I started entering competitions, California State Fair, San Diego County Fair, started winning awards, and we had moved from San Diego to Sacramento, and we were minutes away from signing a lease on a building to open a brewery when I lost my day job. I got a new job the next day, but they wanted me in the Eastern time zone and near an airport. So we literally lost the job, got a new job, and we left California within.
And your
Within 3
job
weeks.
was
Within
you were
3
a
weeks.
software engineer,
Yeah, I wrote
correct?
software. I did payment card encryption, credit card encryption for banks.
Nice.
Wow.
Nice.
Yep. So
How could
Still
you lose it?
writes-
But how could you lose a job like that? It seems like it'd be a job that everybody.
Well, he got one the next day. You can take that.
Oh, yeah.
So
You don't need to tell that story if it's too personal.
Did the little payment terminals where you swipe your cards, and it's a competitive market.
I
and
see.
They got bought by somebody, and they were downsized and combined. And then I got a new job at the company that actually did the encryption that was in that device.
Oh, okay.
So,
So you're really close to an airport here, and
That's
So
that's how we ended up in
you
Gateway.
moved here in
Wow.
2011, correct? Did you move to
Correct.
Gateway?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Correct.
you bought. So you have a house in Gateway.
Had a house.
We've moved out of Gateway. Our home is out of Gateway now, but I mean, we obviously still have major Gateway connections.
For sure.
Right.
When you first opened, it was small. It was smaller, way smaller, right?
1,536 square feet.
Okay. And what is
total.
it now?
Just over 22,000.
Okay. So it's 22,000 now.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which is
Does that include?
nothing compared to what it's gonna be.
Look at her racing.
Well, square footage wise, it will. We're probably going to phase the project.
Well, let's talk a
Okay.
little bit about the project. So, what have you guys been doing over the last couple of years?
So over the last many years, we've been talking with
Because
the
COVID probably threw a wrench in there.
COVID threw a wrench in. We were talking to the Port Authority and Lee County about first it was about leasing some land, and then we convinced them to sell us some land. It's literally the parcel right behind us, touches this parking lot.
And we'll have 3/4 of a mile on of
Right
frontage
on
on
Daniels,
Daniels
right?
and Commerce Lake. So same road off the side, Commerce Lakes, but we also are on Daniels.
Yeah.
And so how much acreage is that now?
It's total, it's about 22 acres. We're going to develop 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what are you going to put on those 7 acres?
A really big parking lot, lots of bathrooms,
Nice.
and a brewery, a music venue, a food truck parking area. So music, food, beer.
Yeah, it sounds like you're going to have a nice lawn area with a stage, so you can have bands in there and lots of events.
So before we get into the specifics of that, but Rob, you lose your job, you're brewing beer in your house, and you must think that this really sucks.
He went one day.
But and then
he went one day.
But I mean, what I'm saying is, and now you're talking about buying property. I mean, what is it like to? I've never lost a job before.
He didn't. No.
Have you lost a job before? You're going to lose a job
Yeah,
today
that's
if you
right.
keep up the crap that you're pulling.
The question is, you guys started this as kind of a hobby.
It was a hobby.
And so you were still working full time.
Yes.
At what point did it get? I think it was pretty quickly you realized this is going to take off.
Well, so we opened this. Our plan was to have our tap room open Friday, Saturday, and brew on Sundays and keep our day jobs during the week. And it was the intent was to make some friends because we didn't know anybody in the area. And quickly we realized that it was taking off. It took me a year to be comfortable with Rob leaving his day job. We got all of our benefits.
I should have left day one.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was a turning point in our business when he could focus on it full time.
What I think you initially underestimated was how much people in Gateway really like to drink.
Well, and I think you hit a sweet spot in time when craft beer
in place.
exploded.
Yeah.
So many people come in here and say, how does anybody, or they used to, how does anybody find you? Like how do they know you're here? What nobody realizes is the size of Gateway and what a tight-knit community
Word of
is.
mouth.
Yes.
And they've been great. I mean, the off season here is different than the off season in the rest of town because there's still 8,000 houses within 3 miles of our brewery.
There's no off season.
So
like there is on the beach.
No, and you've got all the businesses. You've got McGarvey, and I think people
McGarvey,
feel
Gartner.
McGarvey.
Gartner.
Well, yeah, McGarvey's out here too, but
yeah.
You've got such a group, a community that really feels like connected to the brewery and
it's a hangout
and all of that.
That camera makes me look fat, by the way. I'm trying to suck it in.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
It's not working. It must be the beer. It doesn't make you look gray, though.
I thought black was slimming. Clearly not. Holy cow.
Stop looking at the screen there.
I remember coming here, it's been a couple of years, and did the yoga.
Yeah.
There was yoga here?
Yeah, me and Ellen used to
I
come.
didn't know
Yeah,
that.
we do
beer mimosas.
We do Brewga once a month on a Sunday. I commented actually when you were talking about it earlier.
Oh,
With Doug.
did you?
I
couldn't
commented
see
with
it.
the date. It's mid-November is the next one. And yeah, we do yoga. We move all the tables out in the tap room. We do yoga for an hour or so before we open, and then there's beer mimosas.
And how much
afterwards.
is that? How much does it cost?
I believe it's $15.
Is it still the same?
Yep, and it includes the beer. Don't hold me to that.
All right, but still, regardless, I don't care if it's $20.
fun.
You're getting a class. You're getting a beer mimosa, or is there another choice?
You can get a mimosa, a beer mimosa. You can just get a beer.
Yeah, you can't beat that.
Beer?
What's that?
No, I'm
for
good.
sure. Yeah, just keep them coming. Yeah, we'll make sure they
Like
get.
that one?
A wheat
Oh,
one.
what is that? Was very good. That's very good.
What is it?
It's a Heffenweisen.
Oh, that's probably a good one
I'm a
for
Blue
you.
Moon guy, so anything
I'm
close
good.
to
I
that
got
works
my
great.
one.
So,
I you guys have run the beer mile, so I want to talk about that.
Yes.
We won the
I
beer
know.
mile. That was no joke to us. We trained for the beer mile.
I believe it.
I ran it once.
You did.
Did you throw up?
I wouldn't call it throwing up.
You just
You
call it
returned the beer.
There was
burping.
There was foam
Nice.
coming out of my mouth. It
What
wouldn't
you guys do, or what somebody did was it was purposely warm beer. I think that's what somebody was giving me, purposely warm beer. Here comes
We
the
wouldn't
fat
do
guy
that.
giving purposely warm beer.
We've gotten better at it, but it's a challenge to pour that many. I mean, we had hundreds
sure.
of runners.
For sure.
And to pour that many beers and keep them flowing.
But you got to
it's
be
not
thinking,
easy.
what are these
But-
people thinking going to drink and run? Most of these people shouldn't
a
even
lot
be
of
running,
people
period.
think it's going to be really easy. It's a mile and it's a
It's
couple
1 mile
beers.
and
Right.
4 beers.
But
Right. It's a lot.
It's a challenge. But what I want to mention is on the new site, there is going to be, as of right now, there's
track
plans to
where
have a lake, and the
Oh, how cool is
around
that?
the lake
It's
will
a
be a quarter mile, so that we can
There
run
you
the beer
go.
mile.
It's going to be
around that.
let's make it a beer 5K.
We
Ooh.
could do that.
Okay, that's crazy.
Well, the 5K
Maybe a 5K
and then
and then-
have,
yes.
yes.
Did we have Glenn on our team? That's how we won, right? We had Glenn on our team.
Probably. That is
yeah,
probably
yeah.
how I did it.
Yeah. Oh, that's a
I
lot
don't know.
of fun,
We
though.
did it a couple of times. We definitely won once. We
Yeah.
might have won twice. I don't know. But to be fair, we didn't run the whole mile. We were on a relay.
Oh, yeah,
but
we did the relay.
we
thing.
we do have that at our house, and we display it proudly.
Yes, of course.
So,
yeah.
Took the easy way out.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
of course. Yeah, we found the fastest runner in Gateway and put him
That's
as the anchor.
Took the smart way.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Work smarter, not harder.
That's
So
right.
one of the things did you ever imagine that all these different locations would be selling your beer? It's like when I looked on some of the details about where your beer is being distributed, it's everywhere.
So we intentionally tried to keep it as heavy as possible in our backyard. It was everybody wants local,
Yep.
hyper local. So we really concentrated on Lee County out of the gate, and then Charlotte, Collier first, then Charlotte, and we've really focused on that area. We have probably about 1,000 draft lines in just those 3 counties. We are consistently in the top 10 breweries in the state of Florida for the amount of beer sold out of our tap room.
Yeah.
Wow.
Aren't you like the 7th largest?
It varies depending on seasonality, but yeah,
I remember going into the store and seeing the
That's gotta
beer in the and I
That's got to
listen.
be
I
like
had nothing to do with it, but I was like, oh wow, you feel a little
love
bit of
that.
pride.
yeah, that's got to be
you know?
like
Thank
if
you.
that's got to be like
Yes,
somebody that
yes.
hears their song on the radio for the first
Yes.
time. You see, we made that.
I mean,
beer.
the fact what you guys have done here is just
It's amazing.
unbelievable. It's such
Thank
a great story.
Yeah.
We have a really great team.
Yeah.
that
How many
works really
employees
hard.
do you have now?
We have 27 people
Wow.
now, and we're also. I think that we are really lucky, not just to have the Gateway community behind us, but Southwest Florida has embraced Fort Myers
Mhm,
Brewing,
mhm.
and that was apparent before COVID, but through COVID and now coming out of COVID, it's
Well,
we
listen.
couldn't be more grateful to be where to live and to also be building our business right here.
And people needed a way to cope through COVID, and I feel like
stop
this
with
was
the
one of
drama,
the
dear.
ways.
Stop with the drama. So what's most fascinating to me is you come home one day and he's got hoses coming out of the house and he's laying on the couch somewhere, probably drunk from tasting beer. And now look at you're
Yeah.
about to buy. I don't even know how much property around here could cost. It's got to be insane to be able to work through all the politics of buying.
The
they
number is
had to,
out there, right?
They actually
Yeah.
had to rezone it for you because it was
Mhm.
airport property.
Yes.
And 5 or however many years from now, that's going to be like a huge attraction to this entire county to be able to drive by that corridor and see that there's a concert going on or whatever's
Right.
going on. And you did it. You guys did it all.
well,
It's crazy.
we haven't done it yet. We still have to.
When
we
do you
still have to
when?
build it.
I mean, I'm sure COVID threw a wrench in there, but when is there a plan to break ground or?
So we had hoped to submit our development order this week. We've pushed that back a little bit. Over the last 2 weeks, we really had a moment of we probably should phase this rather than
Mhm.
going for the whole thing all at once. It's a
probably know
large sum of money.
Construction costs are through the roof.
Yes.
So-
Yes.
We're seeing that on the beach with
Yes.
Margaritaville and their expenses
Yeah.
compared to what it would have been if they
And
started a
not
few
only
years
we're
ago.
not-
expensive,
we're not
but
Jimmy
just getting
Buffett.
it.
That's-
right,
yeah.
right. And just getting it. I
He
mean,
could- he
just
will come,
getting
though. I'm
stuff.
sure he
She
might
can
come.
sing for you. If you want.
Oh, no.
It's not
Nobody wants
pretty.
that.
Do you guys do karaoke here too? Is that what you're saying?
No.
So one of the
Oh.
things that's so great about this place too is it is kid friendly, it is dog friendly. You have games. You know, there's not any crazy behavior going on. It's a very chill environment, so
Yep.
people can feel safe to come down. You're outdoors.
If your dogs are friendly and your kids are
Yeah.
on a leash,
There you go.
Yeah. What'd you say? Wait, confuse me there for a second. No, and people, well, sometimes we bring our dog and she's barking and barking. We're mortified by it. Put her back in the car. We're going home, but we only live down the street, so it's not that bad a thing. And you always have live entertainment and food trucks. People love food trucks. There seems to be, I didn't even know this was a thing, but there seems to be changes being done in legislation for food trucks to be allowed more. And have you been following all that?
I have loosely followed it. I've seen a little bit about it. And from what I understand, they're working to make it easier for food trucks to be on public property.
Oh, I see.
Going forward, private property.
It's okay.
And you're going to have a whole section for the food trucks.
Like how many will you have? How many?
Spot.
We will continue to do the food truck rallies, so we will have at least 5 to 6 spots. Right now, especially during the high season months, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and sometimes on Sundays, we have multiple food trucks here.
Really? People drink that much.
Everyone thinks that Thursday's just the food truck night.
I see.
But we have food trucks on site every day, and most days we have multiple trucks on site. Thursdays we have 5 to 6 trucks, and we will at least maintain 5 to 6 trucks and probably boost
for sure when you have more space.
And I just want to give a shout out to the food trucks that are here today. There's Mad Brunch, which has a brunch wrap supreme, which has eggs, bacon, cheese, lettuce, tomato, spicy tomato, and tater tots. You love tater tots. And every dollar that they sell is going to Captain's. And then there's Big Nick's Barbecue, who they said brisket is our spirit animal. So there you go.
No idea what that means, but so how many different, what's the total beer count inside right now?
We have 30 taps, 25 different beers on tap at any given time. And that the beers that are on this, we have our core beers that are always here. Gateway Gold, High Five,
peanut butter porter.
Yeah, so
Red
we got
Pilsner.
With peanut butter what?
Red
Peanut
Tide.
butter what?
Peanut butter porter.
It tastes like
Red
peanut
Tide.
butter.
Sure does.
That's
That could
Tastes
be
like a Reese's
deadly.
peanut butter
Yeah.
cup in a glass.
So
And then we also have
yes,
we have
this is a
cans.
big thing.
okay, yes, let's talk
Yeah.
about this.
So we took a couple of years to perfect this product. It's spiked. It's our hard seltzer. And it's we're really, really proud of the way that this product has turned out. It's 0 carbs, 0 sugar. We don't add any artificial sweetener either. And it's 90 calories per can.
So it's like a LaCroix, which has got 0 sweetener in it whatsoever,
Right.
with an essence of
And
natural
seltzers are
flavor.
huge.
Yeah.
They are.
Hugely popular.
And
Yeah.
so who does the can, who
the
creates the
artwork.
cans for you and all that?
We use
We talked about that.
We use a handful of different local people
Different
to
artists.
develop
Yeah.
our artwork. David Grant, he's done some of it.
Good
I'm
friend of
sure
ours.
you're-
Good friend of ours, yeah.
And
Another
some
Gateway
of,
guy.
yeah,
Yeah,
some of the
way
people
back.
on his team. Now we've got 4 or 5 different designers
Nice.
that we work with.
Nice. Now, if somebody comes in and says, "I want a Bud Light," you're kicking them out, right? I mean, you're not
We
getting something
We don't
like
kick
that.
them out. We try to let
Educate
them
them.
know that we're a craft brewery,
Right.
not a macrobrewery, and we say, "Here, try this, try that," and try to direct them into a beer that might fit the
I
flavor
see.
profile of what.
Because
they
I come in
normally
and say, "Whatever
I
you
want a
have."
shot time. That's what you
That's
don't
what he-
have a real developed palate for beer.
drink. She's mean.
Oh,
Holy,
I'm
you
telling
should
you.
listen to her on Saturday
Oh,
morning.
I'm telling you. I
What-
think one thing that's nice for people who don't know, though, if they're not sure what they like, is they can get the flight, right?
You can get a flight, or our
Oh, you
our
do
bar
tasters?
staff will stand, and if you want to get a little sip of a handful of beers to try them before you get a full pour, you can do that
But
as well.
just a couple folks.
people
Don't
take
come
advantage
roll
of-
in here
Do you see
and
the
be
same
like,
guy
I
doing
need
the same
12
thing?
samples. Like, it's not Costco.
Dear,
If
chill
we're-
out.
If we have an event going on and we're really busy, we try to
Limit that.
we'll
Yeah.
give them samples. We try to keep the line moving.
Yeah.
We're proud of our bar staff and how efficient
Yeah.
they are at pouring
Yeah.
beers. But yeah, people come in, taste the beers, figure out what you like. And our bar staff is trained to know what the different types of beer are and what somebody might like if they like a Shock Top, I think is what you said, or
Yeah. Blue Moon. Blue Moon.
Mhm.
Anything
So-
that's close to that, I'm totally happy with because the atmosphere
I got to get
is
mine.
what it's all about. Having being able to have this kind of atmosphere and sit and meet people and just sit at a picnic table is it's not a chain thing. And that's what I wanted to ask you about. Is like, you can go to the World of Beers and you're not going to get the kind of customer service that you get when you come to a community it's a community. It's like a big tent kind of atmosphere. Is that what you're trying to create?
For sure. I think that all businesses should, I mean, it's smart to try to create that big tent atmosphere. I do have to give a shout out to World of Beer, though. That was one of the first places we went when we moved into town. And what we didn't know was that they were brand new. And we walked in.
Which one?
The one at Bell Tower.
Okay, it's not there anymore.
No. But we went there as we were thinking about opening a brewery. And to us, he grew up in San Diego. I grew up in Michigan, and on every corner there's a brewery. And we went, okay, people are coming here from those areas, so they're used to there being craft breweries. And everyone said that Florida was behind in that respect. And so we walked into this World of Beer. And there were people there that were craving craft beer. So that was one of the
why it's not there anymore. It's a great location, and but
you're digressing on that.
Yeah. So they serve your beer at the one at Gulf Coast?
Yes.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Where is the furthest place away from Florida that your beer is being sent?
So we're only in Florida. The furthest place the furthest place from here would be in Tampa.
Yeah.
And we don't have very many tap handles in Tampa, but there's a couple local companies.
Doc
Fords that have locations up there.
Oh, okay.
We
Yeah.
supply
and
to
he's
them.
growing too.
Yeah.
We are slowly expanding.
We've made a very conscious effort to go deep, not wide. And when people hear how much beer we sell in 3 counties, they're shocked.
How much beer do you sell in a week?
We will hit about 13,000 barrels of beer.
And how much is in a barrel?
31 gallons.
31.
So this year will be.
It doesn't
Here
seem
comes
like
the math.
when you look in the back, at those things you have set up there, it doesn't look like you can produce that amount of beer.
Are you like going 24/7?
We're not right now.
So almost 400,000 gallons of beer would do this year.
Holy moly!
Yeah.
Wow,
and
that's incredible.
A lot of craft breweries that produce that much product, they've made the opposite decision of us of putting beer out in little packets all over, and that's we've always been we've been hesitant to do that because you lose control of your product, and we've wanted to very closely monitor and make sure people are getting the best quality beer that they possibly can.
So do you have tasters like saying, okay, wait, this isn't good enough?
Do you have employees that do that? Because he'll sign up for that.
We always do it all the time. Every batch is tested throughout the process. Yep.
Wow.
And a beer never leaves the door if it's not exactly what it was.
I imagine you got a lot of heavy people back there then after all these years. You don't need to answer that. What is your
I hope TJ's not watching.
What is your ultimate goal? Like, what do you want to do? Like at the end of the day,
she knows what I'm going to say.
Say it.
He's going to say world domination.
What's wrong with that?
Our goal is to open our new place, get a bit bigger. We're never going to be your nationwide brewery. You're even probably a regional brewery. But we don't need to. We want to
continue to offer really great events to the local area. We want to continue to push people to come down to Southwest Florida to try our products.
Yeah.
And that happens. I mean, I'll give some kudos to our brew crew. We've won a number of awards for our product. Probably the most significant award that we won for our product was we won a World Beer Cup, second best chocolate beer in the entire world.
Wow.
Well, there's your world domination. You've achieved that.
Where is the World Beer Cup held?
I'm not sure where
it moves. They do the judging. There's like a conference called the Craft Brewers Conference, and it moves around the country. And they
So you send them the beer?
You do.
I see.
And they seek out entries from international.
And then international judges fly in from around the world and do the judging. So all the judging is done by your peers, and worldwide
Nice.
peers.
Beer,
So
real beer people.
And someone's
Real
over there
beer,
drinking your
real-
spiked.
yep.
Is there
A seltzer
chocolate
right
beer
now.
here today somewhere in this
Our
building?
chocolate
Is
peanut
that
butter
what he's
porter.
got?
Here,
No,
you
that-
need to try the chocolate peanut butter beer.
that's a
Yeah,
heavy.
she's all about the.
that's
She's a cookie chocolate person.
That's
Yeah,
going to
well,
be
I
the
do.
next beer mile beer.
Yeah.
Oh, can you
Oh,
imagine
my
that?
God.
Only for teams, though.
Oh
Yeah.
If you're running a
God.
team,
You
you got to
wouldn't be
drink a
able to-
heavy stuff.
That'll
place-
be tough.
If you're doing it by
That's
yourself,
taking
you
me
drink the
down.
This
No.
place isn't big enough for that many people that would show up for that. So why do you support Captains for Clean Water? That's a big event today, and let's talk about that
I mean,
for a couple
as
minutes.
you know, clean water is important for brewing beer, but bigger than that, residents of Southwest Florida. I mean, the beaches are our life here.
Yep.
People come here on vacation to where we live because we have beautiful beaches, and as we all know, was it 2018?
Yeah.
And we had the nastiest
Yeah.
red tide event of all. Like, it was national news.
Yep.
People
Yep.
talking about how bad the water was here, and we need to fix that.
Yep.
So,
And they're great guys, and
They're great
they're
guys.
really
Daniel, who you guys had on, he's been coming in from day one. He's become a really great friend.
It really sounds like a great mix. Fishing, brewery. I mean, that's
well,
a good.
yes, a lot of the
Match made
captains,
in
they
heaven.
take our product out on their boats with them, and it is. It's we need to have clean water, not just for the tourists, but for our residents.
Yeah.
anything else you want our audience to know about Fort Myers Brewery. And we really appreciate you guys
Yes.
allowing us to take up one of
Yeah.
your parking spots and put our tent up here and talk to you guys. It really, I've been trying a long time to get down here and do a show with you guys. And thank you so much for allowing us to come down.
Of course.
Thank you for putting up with him because I know
Yeah.
it's rough, but
thank you for putting up with her.
Thank you very much.
She knows I'm kidding. I was talking to him.
I thought you were talking about me.
And good for you to find somebody 16 years younger than
No,
you.
6.
stop saying that.
Well, folks,
She looks a lot younger than I do.
I didn't want to say that, but that is exactly, well, it goes for both of us. So come on down to the Fort Myers Brewery. We're in Gateway, and they have lots of beer, thousands and thousands of gallons of beer ready for you to drink.
Bring
in
your
cold
dogs
glasses.
and well-behaved
That's right.
kids.
Bring your dogs, put your kids on a leash, and there's plenty of food and all that. And some of Kim's friends are even here. I didn't even know she had any friends, but her friends are here.
Yes, we had a great Halloween party last night.
Yes, her friends are always here. So thank you guys
Thank
so
you
much.
so much.
Thank
Thanks
you.
so much with
Coming
the
out.
expansion, and
Appreciate it.
hopefully we can come back out and do another show or two or
Absolutely.
10 or 100. So thank
All
you very
right.
much,
Awesome.
everybody,
Cheers.
and have a
Mine's
great
over
night.
there.
Appreciate
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
All right, dear, you're going to take this out?
All right, yes, I'm
go
going to
say
take it
hello to
out.
my
Yeah, you
friends
go ahead and
before you
chat.
leave.
I'll exit everybody here. Thank you, everybody.